Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. It has been a very fun week. You almost feel like the Oprah show. You get a goal, you get a goal, you get a goal, you get a yellow card, you get a goal, you get a goal. It's been that kind of week. Atlanta United outscoring their last two opponents 7-0, but I think more importantly, Jason, Atlanta United is now back above the playoff line in the Eastern Conference. They're above 500 as far as their win-loss record is concerned. So after that setback against Nashville, Atlanta United right back on the winning track. You can tell they're having a lot of fun, and it's been really fun for us to watch.
Yeah, the response from the Nashville game and then the break over the international break. We had questions last week. What's it going to look like against Orlando? Not at 100% in terms of the roster. Oh, it looked just fine. And then it looked even better against Cincinnati. Let's jump into these highlights, Mike, because two games with a lot of goals. How is your voice right now? Are you a little sore after screaming score over and over again?
Yeah, well, they've been testing it a lot, but that's okay. I thought I was going to scream goal right here, but a very, very good save, and Atlanta United was able to eventually break through 3 times against Orlando City. The woodwork has been a little bit unkind to Luis Araujo, but I'm glad that he finally was able to break through on Wednesday, which we will show you in a little bit.
Yeah, more coming from our good friend Luis Araujo. Great opener against Orlando with George Campbell, of all people, getting that goal. It's a well-worked short corner that recycles a little bit. Campbell makes a great run, perfectly timed, and gets a lot of power on that header. Set piece success continued. Ezequiel Barco just blasts one into the near post. Looking for a redirection. You've got black shirts in there. The redirection comes, but it's off of Daryl Dike, who would like to be getting that redirection on the other end of the field. Not so much in that way. But this is just flat-out brilliance. It's a great ball to Ezequiel Barco, first off. He waits to see what he will be facing. He has that little La Pausa where he holds it up and then smokes 3 defenders. Goes from left to right, and we see this so much from Barco. This time he's able to get the space for the shot, and actually the most difficult shot he could put there, going to the near post. Watch again. Huon is able to recover. See ya. See ya. See ya. And into the near post. I mean, that's brilliant from Barco. The composure to do that almost sets up George Bello for a goal. Bello's been really close in a couple of appearances off the bench here for getting a goal. He saved. It was a dominant performance against a very good team in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta United gets a little bit of revenge for their last trip to Orlando, and a big 3 points that I think woke a lot of people up around the country, Mike.
Barco's goal was the MLS goal of the week. Nice job by you, the 17s, to vote for him. The world back on its axis because Atlanta United is dominating Orlando again, and it did not take long for Luis Araujo to open his account Wednesday night against Cincinnati.
It didn't take long at all. It didn't take long at all to go up 2-0 either. Alan Franco started his assist party with this one back across. That goal from Luis Araujo, so fast, so quick. Then another set piece. I mean, I feel like this is becoming a trend for Atlanta United. Well-worked set pieces. Alan Franco across to Joseph Martinez. Atlanta wasn't done putting Cincinnati on their heels. Off the post from Barco. Rebound. Big save there from Teton to prevent it from being 3-0 at the halftime break. Brooks Lennon was heavily involved in the attack. You're going to hear from Brooks Lennon here in just a bit about that specifically. But Atlanta United, this goal right here, Joseph Martinez, it looks easy because he makes it look easy. It's a great ball from Franco to Barco, Barco to Joseph. He's got a lot of work to do. And he kind of goes a little bit of La Pausa too, uses Nick Hagland as a screen, puts it behind him, no opportunity to make that save. And then Ezequiel Barco with the perfect cherry on top, catches the goalkeeper going one way, puts it into the other side. Goalkeeper's looking around like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Brilliant, brilliant from Barco. And these last couple of games have been huge for Barquito. They've been huge for Luis Araujo. Marcelino Moreno had to play in a little bit deeper role against Cincinnati, showed that he's capable of that. Joseph Martinez gets goals in his 100th regular season appearance for Atlanta United. It's been a lot of fun this past week at the Benz, and hopefully that fun will continue Saturday afternoon.
Yes, we hope, because Saturday's match is a really big one against DC United. But Atlanta United taking care of business Wednesday night against a Cincinnati team that was below them on the table. They beat Orlando City, who was well above them on the table, and that puts Atlanta United right where they want to be right now, which is 7th in a playoff position going into that big game on Saturday. And that DC match is one of the many things we got to talk to Brooks Lennon about when we recorded this interview on Thursday. It's great playing. It's been a terrific week with the 3-0 win over Orlando, the 4-0 win over Cincinnati. I'm sure you're getting this question a lot. Can you pinpoint what or when the turning point was on this season?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that we're now having guys back, fully fit. We have guys coming back from international duty that, are very important players for us, like, Miles and Bello and Joseph. These guys are so important to our team, and now we kind of have everyone back fully fit and contributing. And I think everyone's putting their full effort forward and trying to get results, and that's what we're doing. So it's really good vibe in the locker room, and I think that's also one of the main reasons why we're doing so well right now is, the team is gelling, everyone's getting along, on and off the field, and that's kind of pushing us towards these wins.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that vibe a little bit, because in addition to guys coming back from international duty and kind of rejoining the group, you've also added Luis Araujo, who's an interesting player on the field in terms of the vibe, but also I think an interesting character. Just how has he fit in?
Yeah, he's been great ever since he came in his first day. He's gelled really well. I know him and Matheus are obviously best pals because they're both Brazilian, and they kind of do everything together, which is nice to see. And it just makes them both happy. And when you're happy off the field, I think it contributes on the field with performances. And you saw that last night with Luis's first goal. Unbelievable run and great finish at the end. So. Like I said, the vibe is really good right now off the field, and that's helping with the results on the field. And guys are just willing to put the work in.
How's it been training and interacting with Gonzalo Pineda? Because I know when he came in, he said he didn't want to change too much and be disruptive, but he did want to implement a few small things here and there. How has that transition been going?
It's been a great transition. Rob Valentino took over as the interim for a little while, and we got a lot of good results under Rob. And so, I understood that Gonzalo didn't want to come in and completely change everything. We were kind of on an upward trajectory, and it was nice to see. We hired Gonzalo. He's an unbelievable guy and a great coach. And like you said, yeah, he's implemented, a few things that he thinks can help us, reach those playoffs and win games. But he's not just completely wiping everything out and starting from scratch. So, we have a really good system in place right now, and everyone's happy, and we're getting these great results at home, and we just need to continue to push forward and stay humble. That's one of the messages that he has. Portrayed to us in the last 24 hours is, yes, we're getting these great results at home, but we're not, solidified. So we need to stay grounded, stay humble, and continue to push forward.
One of the things from you in the Cincinnati game, it felt like there was a little more opportunity for you to come inside and get into the final third and central positions. Was that something that you've been working on with Gonzalo? Is it a little bit of the addition of Luis into the team, or was it just where that game took you?
I think it's both. I think it's Luis in the team because he poses such a threat, in the midfield when he plays inside, and then if he likes to get on the touch line, that gives me the opportunity to kind of play inside and make those runs in behind. So, with Luis on the field and his threat, that opens up a little bit of space for me, and I think with Gonzalo's system and the way that he likes the wingbacks to play, he likes them very attacking-minded, front foot, making runs in behind and, getting into Primus's zones to create goal-scoring opportunities. So, ever since Gonzalo came in, I've really tried to focus on that and try to get into dangerous positions and get my assist stats up. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get an assist last night, but it doesn't matter. We won 4-0, and it was a great team performance overall.
We're taking a little bit of time on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff today to look at how Matheus Rossetto has been playing in the last few matches. And you obviously have a very up-close view of what he has been doing in the midfield. Does it feel to you, as it feel to us, that Matheus might be in his best form since joining Atlanta United?
100%. Yeah, I think he's in his best form, without a doubt. He feels really comfortable in that role that Gonzalo's put him in the center of that midfield, dictating the pace of play, and you can just see how skilled he is. He's a guy that can always turn in tight areas. He's got a little bit of that Brazilian flair to him, which is always nice to see. And just his linking with the front guys, front four. Luis, he has a good relationship with him, like I said earlier, and he's always looking for guys like Joseph and Barco, Marcelino. Runs in behind, and that's what you need in a really good midfielder.
We talk a lot about kind of styles making fights and making interesting games when you have contrasting styles. This weekend with DC coming to town, it's a little bit more of a similar style. What are the things you've noticed about DC as you prepare that you feel like give Atlanta a great opportunity on this match on Saturday, but also some things you have to worry about a little bit?
Yeah, they're a very aggressive, attacking-minded side, just like we are. Like you saw in the game that we played in DC, there were chances on both ends. There was a lot of opportunities for us in transition moments. From defense to attack, I thought we did really well that game, and I think that's what we're going to have to do at home. It's going to be a very, end-to-end type game, just because of how they play and how aggressive they are, like I said. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be one game for the fans. I think it's going to be very, very high-paced game, a lot of goals, hopefully. So yeah, we're really excited. I think that we can expose them in different areas.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Jason and I were talking about this on the radio Wednesday, how this DC match really feels to us as outsiders as being a really big match. Lots of playoff implications, lots of table implications. I know every match for you as a player is a big match, but does this feel extra special in any way?
It does, yeah. I think it feels extra special to cap off a really good week with another win. Very big playoff implications. I think they're 1 point ahead of us in the table, I want to say. So this is a humongous game. It's almost like a final to us and the guys in the locker room. Everyone knows how big of a game it is. So we're all looking forward to it. We're preparing the best of our ability, and let's go get 3 points.
Yes, please do that. We're looking forward to it on Saturday. Brooks, great visiting with you as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, as teased by Brooks and I, let's talk about Matheus Rossetto, who's been brilliant for Atlanta United over the last couple matches.
Yeah, Rossetto played as a second holding midfielder with Santiago Sosa against Orlando. He had some freedom to get forward, and he did that really, really well. Completed almost all of his passes in both of these games. He's so sure on the ball. Tight spaces, doesn't matter. He's got little moves where he can get out of trouble, little things like that, coming back and recovering the ball. That was one of the plays that stood out to me the most, using his body on Daryl Dike, where Dike, huge, strong forward, Rossetto, holding midfielder, we look at him as a little bit more attack-minded. He's able to shield Dike off and win the ball back. If he can add those defensive elements to his game, Rossetto is going to be a player that we'll see a lot of down the stretch. The quality on the ball, we've known it's been there. A little change of direction right there, fooling Cincinnati players. He connects his passes so well. He's done that consistently since he arrived. But I think what we're starting to see now are not just completing simple passes, but getting the team out of trouble in tight spaces. Remember, against Cincinnati, he was the 6. He was the defensive midfielder in place of Santiago Sosa. And he was the one starting a lot of the buildup and a lot of the attacks. So it wasn't just about connecting a pass, but picking the right one to open the game up. And he had to defend from time to time. And I think he's shown in these last 2 games that Matheus Rossetto is a player that, when we talk about the best possible 11 for Atlanta United, Matheus Rossetto's putting his name into that mix. And I don't know if we would have thought that a month ago. Having Luis Araújo here, I think, helps him a little bit. I mean, you get a fellow compatriot from Brazil in the team. I think it helps bring Matheus, maybe out of his shell a little bit. He's got somebody to be buddies with. I think it makes him feel more comfortable, and we're starting to see those two develop a connection on the field as well. Rossetto has shown that he can play as an 8. We've seen him as a 10. He can play as a 6 when needed, and you never know, that might be necessary. And he gives Gonzalo Pineda a lot of opportunities here to mix and match based off the opposition. If Atlanta needs to play a double pivot because the opposition is very strong in the central midfield on the attacking side, Rossetto will be fine in there on the ball and fine in there defensively as well. That's a key for him.
I feel like we've heard Darren and Carlos talk a lot about fitting the profile of an Atlanta United player. I think Rossetto's versatility kind of fits that profile a little bit. If you look at how this team has been assembled, you want to have some versatile players who can fill in a couple different roles. Jake Mulroney is someone who started the last 2 matches who can fill a couple different roles, just someone who comes to mind. But I think you bring up a good point, Jason, that Rossetto can play the 6, the 8, and the 10 if he needs to. That fits the profile of an Atlanta United player, that versatility.
Yeah, I think especially central midfielders, Atlanta United has always wanted guys who can play 6, 8, 10. Are they always going to play all of them? No. But the way the game is these days, 10s have to defend, 6s have to be able to attack. And when you have somebody who can blend into different combinations, it gives the manager so many more options. And this is a tough league with a lot of games on short rest, a lot of travel. There's a lot of times where, somebody might not be able to go 90. They might only be able to go 60 or 30. And to have somebody like Rossetto who, in the same match, can play further up the field, can drop deeper on the field, can really play with anybody in the team in that central midfield, it's critical. And he does fit that profile because of his versatility, also because of his quality on the ball. He's so confident on the ball and so sure of himself with his first touch and his passes that Matheus Rossetto can fit into any team, especially this one.
Speaking of short rest, it's not just the first team that's dealing with some match compression right now. In fact, the second team is on the exact same calendar. They're going to play on Saturday, and they played along with the first team Wednesday night. Like the first team, they were at home in Kennesaw against Charleston.
Yeah, didn't have a roof at Kennesaw. That might have helped a little bit for this one. The conditions were not great at Fifth Third Bank Stadium, but a very interesting matchup with a team that, this organization as a whole knows very, very well. High pressure creates the turnover, and Jackson Conway gets his first goal in a little while. Great to see. Jackson Conway with a new haircut as well. Maybe new haircut, getting goals. We'll see if that's the case. Conway finishes the chance very, very well. But look at the pressure. Look at that pressure from Mackie Jope. Forces the giveaway. Conway pounces. Atlanta has the early lead. Now, you see the conditions here, and it did make things a little difficult, and it made things a little difficult defensively at times because of the footing. That's a great goal from Charleston that is really difficult for Rocco Rios Novo to keep out. So it's 1-1, and both teams had opportunities to win this match. Mikey Ambrose providing the service. Mackie Jope trying to find the space for the shot. He had Aiden McFadden crashing on the backside as well. Mackie almost able to turn that one in. You get the punch from Rios Novo on the cross. Atlanta has to scramble a little bit. Good to see Ambrose get some time here as well. We've talked about where Mikey fits going forward. You want him available if needed to get the minutes against Charleston really important. almost a winner for the Battery here as Noah Cobb got turned around. But look at the work from Cobb. He doesn't win the tackle, but he doesn't give up on the play, and he gets enough of a tackle in to make that a much more difficult chance. That's Noah Cobb at 16 years old, folks. I mean, he's a player to watch. Charleston, 90th minute, off the crossbar. They had their chances to win it, and they're trying to get into a playoff spot in their division in the Atlantic. Atlanta United 2 trying to get into a playoff spot in the Central Division. Ultimately, both teams are probably a little disappointed with the 1-1 draw. I think there's a lot of positives to take out of it for Atlanta United 2. Noah Cobb being probably the biggest one. He was named man of the match afterwards. He made his debut this season at 15 years old. He has just turned 16. If you didn't know that and you walk into the stadium and watch him play, you don't think he's 16. Very, very confident on the ball, which, again, it's back to that profile of an Atlanta United player, right? You want guys who are good on the ball. Noah Cobb at 16 is showing that he doesn't get afraid in those moments. And that attempted tackle, it's one that he's not going to get credit for a tackle on the stat sheet. But how many times do you see a young player get beat and give up on the play and not be able to make an impact on the play? He doesn't win the tackle, but when he slides in, he doesn't commit the foul. He doesn't give up the penalty, first off, which is key. And he gets a touch on the ball. Doesn't knock it away, doesn't win it, but it limits the angle for that shot. That's a really important element in that play and in that 1-1 draw that Noah Cobb, on a night where, look, he's playing guys at times who are twice as old as him, didn't back down. Didn't back down at all. That's been the story for the Twos all year long, and it's going to be needed this weekend.
Yeah, they're going to play Saturday night at Kennesaw, 7:30 kickoff. I just want to add my personal thought. I thought it was great to see Jackson Conway score a goal.
Yeah.
It came off a moment of pressure. Jackson on the finishing end, but I think that's really, really big for that young man's confidence. But talk to me about this match coming up Saturday night after the first team plays. If you want to do double duty, you can, because Jason's doing it.
Yes.
If Jason can broadcast 2 matches, you can attend 2 matches. So talk about what's coming up tomorrow in Kennesaw.
Can't wait. Tampa Bay Rowdies come into town, one of the historic names in American soccer and one of the best teams in the USL Championship. Last season when these teams played, these games were really, really fun games to call because you get Atlanta United 2 who wants the ball. They want to control the games with the ball. You get the Tampa Bay Rowdies who are very good at playing direct, very vertical. Styles make fights. You have 2 contrasting styles here, and they were very close last year. I think Atlanta United 2 was maybe the team that played the Rowdies the toughest all year. Didn't have the results to show for it, but they gave the Rowdies a fight every single time. Some great players on this Tampa side. Atlanta United 2, we're going to get to see how guys like Cobb, Brendan Lamb, some of the young players, Jackson Conway possibly getting another game there. I'd like to see how they do after short rest, after a tough match against Charleston. Can they get back up for another big game in this playoff push? Because as we're seeing with the first team, that's what's next. You have to be able to play and put in big performances on short rest when these games get late in the season and they're more meaningful. Huge opportunity for players for the Atlanta United 2 side to show that they're ready, show the organization that they're ready when the time comes for them to move up and see time with the first team. They can handle these types of weeks.
So that is Saturday night, 7:30 at Kennesaw. Switching gears back to MLS. We've got a lot of results to comb through here since the last time we spoke because there were a bunch of matches last weekend. These are those matches, starting with Atlanta United's win Friday night over Orlando and continuing through Saturday. New York City playing D.C. to a 1-1 draw. The Red Bulls, playing D.C. to a 1-1 draw. Late penalty there. Dallas and San Jose played to a 1-1 draw. LAFC starting to get it together a little bit. They beat Real Salt Lake 3-2. SKC continuing to roll. You'll see on the next slide, they've had a very good week. 2-0 winners over Chicago, and they turned around and had a very good night on Wednesday as well. What stands out to you here, Jason?
Houston finally got a win on the weekend. It had been a long time since they had gotten a win. That DC Red Bulls game, unremarkable, really. But the LAFC run is standing out to me, and it continued in the midweek, going to Austin, getting a win. Little controversial, though, on Wednesday. Anthony Precourt had some things to say on that on Twitter, which is a little surprising. He's not a big tweeter, but he was not happy about the way that thing ended. Montreal going to Orlando in the midweek is one of the big score lines. When you combine it with what we saw at Mercedes-Benz Stadium last Friday, 7 goals given up by Orlando in their last 2 matches, and they had 2 red cards against Montreal. That's going to hurt them this weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. The DC 3-0 win over Chicago in the midweek, obviously that's one that grabbed our attention. Ola Kamara with a first-half hat trick, 2 from the spot. That New York City-Dallas game was craziness at 3-3. The San Jose Real Salt Lake game topped it with craziness at 3-4 with RSL getting the win. And Pablo Mastroeni in charge of RSL right now. Is he going to be potentially in line to get that job? That kind of a win, that 4-3 win, bouncing back from a loss to LAFC in the weekend, that's a big performance. And maybe, and they're in a playoff spot right now, maybe he gets them into the playoffs and maybe he gets that job.
Miami continues to stay hot.
They do.
1-0 win over Toronto. I'm not necessarily looking up the table. I'm looking behind my shoulder a little bit. And I got to say, Columbus, to their credit, just when you thought they were dead and buried, they now are starting to get a little bit more confidence, play a little bit better. Miguel Berry has really helped them out a great deal, but you notice that they won on the midweek as well. So they have not been able to, I guess, be dropped by Atlanta United. Not yet on this Eastern Conference table.
Yeah, let's look ahead to this weekend. And Columbus is one to watch this weekend because they go to New England. And if they get anything out of that, then we're absolutely having a different conversation about the Crew's playoff hopes. I don't think they're likely to get anything out of Gillette, but we will see on Saturday night. It all starts tonight with Miami hosting the Red Bulls, a big game in the Eastern Conference, especially on the Miami front. I think it's must-win territory for the Red Bulls to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they haven't shown a lot that will happen. Miami is getting results. They're getting wins. It didn't look pretty against Toronto. They needed a late penalty. They had a man advantage for a long time in that, but they found a way. They need to be a little more, I think, demonstrative that they're a playoff team tonight against the Red Bulls, a team they should beat at home. New York City has an opportunity to get back, I think, into some form because they have been a mess lately. They go to Cincinnati. That's a game that New York City should be able to go on the road and get a win. Nashville, same thing. They go to Toronto. They should be able to go on the road and get a win. Seattle going to RSL. Possibly a game that Seattle should go and get a win, but it's not easy. And RSL has actually had a lot of success against the Sounders in Utah. Talking about teams going on the road and should get wins. LA Galaxy going to Minnesota. Minnesota has really struggled. They're getting close to must-win kind of territory. The Galaxy need to show that they're a top team in the West because they haven't been lately. With Chicharito out, he's back. He scored in the midweek. But a home draw with Houston doesn't look like an elite team. The Galaxy need to go to Minnesota and show that they are. And I think 2 of the best games this weekend, Mike, are on Sunday. Orlando going to Philly. There's a lot of intrigue in that one. And LAFC going to Portland Sunday night. Vancouver, Colorado is not bad either in the nightcap Sunday night. But those 2 at 4 and 7:30 on Sunday, those are the games that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Well, those 2 Western Conference games on Sunday, the 4 teams involved are all playing extremely well right now. Portland, LAFC, Vancouver, Colorado, all playing very well. Intriguing matchups. That Philly-Orlando is interesting on a couple different fronts. Nani and Andres Pereira red-carded in their last match, so they'll be suspended. Orlando and Philly are both out of form right now. Philadelphia had to play Club America on the midweek. They got knocked out of CONCACAF Champions League. I guess the one unsettling aspect for me is if Philadelphia can get back in form against an Orlando team that's going to be without their best player, quite frankly, and Nani, That could give Philadelphia a little bit of confidence going into next weekend when they host Atlanta United. But these are problems that I guess we can't worry about too much right now.
Yeah, we'll see what Orlando can take out of Philly. I know it's painful, 17s. I know Orlando really beating up on Philly a little bit there wouldn't be a bad thing with Atlanta headed to Philly next weekend. You might just want to close your eyes on it, though.
Yeah, right. And sorry to interrupt you. Philly beating Orlando really would help Atlanta United if they have aspirations at maybe getting a third seed in the Eastern Conference. I think at this point it looks pretty likely that New England is going to get the top seed in the East, barring a major collapse. Nashville, it's going to be tough to catch them for number 2. So if you're looking at what's realistic on the table and you want to maybe have a rooting guide for this weekend in MLS, you want Chicago to upset Montreal up at Stade Saputo.
Yeah.
You want New England to take care of Columbus. That would be a big help for Atlanta United. I would think you're rooting for Red Bulls tonight against Inter Miami.
You are.
Inter Miami does have that match in hand against Atlanta United. But when it comes to Philly, Orlando, a Philly win probably hurts you less than an Orlando win in that case for Atlanta United.
You're rooting for, I think at times, a lot of draws in other games in the East, and I think you're also possibly rooting for red cards if you want a rooting interest. Red cards and chaos, have at it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, look, Atlanta United has everything in their control right now. They're above the playoff line, and they can take another big jump on the Eastern Conference table this weekend if they can get 3 points against DC United, which they've already done as recently as 4 weeks ago in the nation's capital, playing against DC United, a really fun 2-1 road victory for Atlanta United. In which, quite frankly, they had control of the match in the last 10 minutes, decisive control of the match. It doesn't mean, though, that DC did not have their chances that night.
Yeah, it was a really good win for Atlanta United. This was early on with Luis Araújo with a shot wide. It's funny how much closer that's gotten, and then he finally gets his goal. This was such a great goal from Josef Martinez. I love the pass through the middle, and that's something that I do want to get into about DC. I think Atlanta can exploit some soft spots in the middle for DC United, and this is a prime example. That run right there by Joseph, it's not a long run, but it's a very well-timed one, and the ball slipped into him perfectly, and he finishes. This is also part of the problem that Atlanta United is going to have to deal with, is play from the wide positions. This is a fluke, and it's an amazing goal from Jordi Reyna. Completely unexpected, catches everyone by surprise. Brad Kazan's caught. Nobody sees that one coming. Even our TV producers did not see that one coming. It caught everybody by surprise. It happens. I love the response. Brad with a big save, and he was called on at times here, but look at where most of the big opportunities for DC are originating from. Wide play coming inside. Even that one that was a dribble across. It's starting with the play is being created from a wide position. That's going to be a problem for Atlanta to deal with in this one. Thought that was going to be the winner for Atlanta at DC. Ultimately wasn't. This is where it came from, and it's some patience to find the opportunity and some brilliance from Marcelino Moreno. It might take something like this. It might take some brilliance, and it's definitely going to take some patience because DC's a good team. DC's a team that has weapons that can hurt Atlanta United. Atlanta United has ways to absolutely hurt DC United in this one too. And both teams have a lot of similarities. I don't think they cancel each other out, though, as we see sometimes when you get a matchup like this with teams who play in a similar shape, have similar philosophies. I don't get that sense because of where their strengths are, Mike. Like, Atlanta United, I think, is at its strongest centrally. I think where Atlanta can hurt DC, it's getting Sosa back, holding down the middle, really freeing up Barco, Moreno, maybe Rossetto, depending on the alignment, to attack the middle of DC, their center backs and their holding midfield especially. But where DC can hurt Atlanta and where they've been good all year is attacking from wide positions. It's putting in service from Julian Gressel. It's Kevin Paredes and his movement on the left side as a wingback, a very attack-minded wingback. It's Andy Nahar, who was a handful in that game at Audi Field, maybe making overlapping runs. He could be a right center back again, making those overlapping runs. Joseph Mora could do that from the left. If Atlanta wins the middle and DC wins the flanks, I don't know what we're looking at for the final result here. But if one team can take away that strength from the other, they're going to win the match.
Yeah, because Ola Kamara is usually on the end of that service, and Kamara has 16 goals on the year, which leads the league. 5 goals in his last 3 matches. Reigning MLS Player of the Week after a first-half hat trick against Chicago Wednesday night. Now, 2 of those goals were from the penalty spot. Incidentally, when Ola Kamara is held scoreless in a match this year, DC United 1 win, 5 losses, 1 draw. One of those 5 losses was to Atlanta United. Kamara was getting good service in that match. He just did not have a very good night finishing. So that's something that Atlanta United is going to want to tighten up for Saturday's match at the Benz.
Yeah, that's going to be a key. Predictions are going to be interesting on this one, Mike, because we could go a lot of different directions. Mine came good. I was a little worried because I was robbed on 1 shot on goal. I said that Atlanta would have twice as many shots on goal in the game against Orlando, and I was absolutely robbed on 1 that was a save, and it was looking close there for a while, but came through, and I got my prediction right.
Barely. 4-2, but still.
Got it.
You're right. Your prediction was right. I thought Atlanta United would score in the final 10 minutes against Orlando. I was close. It was final 20 minutes, but close but no cigar doesn't count here on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. So my prediction for this week, I'm going to recycle one that I used earlier in the year, but there's a slightly different spin on it. Now, remember, 4 weeks ago, I predicted DC United would have 20 or more fouls conceded in that match. They've fouled more than any other team in the league this year. That remains true coming into this match. Atlanta United has suffered the most fouls of any team in the league this year. And that remains true coming into this match. I missed the foul total by 1 because so many fouls were being called that night. I think maybe the referee just got bored on calling fouls. So I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction. Okay. And this is a prediction I've already done this year, full disclosure. Atlanta United will score at least 1 goal on Saturday against DC from a set piece and or penalty.
Okay.
I just think, again, I don't want to predict the exact number of fouls, but I think Atlanta United is going to draw a lot of fouls on Saturday, and we see how good Atlanta United has looked on these set pieces the last 2 matches. I'll even refine my prediction and say a corner kick does not count as a set piece. A free kick and or penalty will produce an Atlanta United goal on Saturday.
All right. I like that. I think what we've seen lately is that's very likely with the goals from set pieces flying in for Atlanta United right now. I can see that, and they should have had a penalty at Audi Field as well, but we'll leave that one alone since it ultimately didn't matter. My prediction this time around, maybe it's because it was such a great chance to talk to him earlier in the show, but Brooks Lennon, I think, is going to be key here on a couple of fronts. I think defensively, he will be very, very important dealing with the left side of DC's attack. Kevin Paredes is one of the bright young talents in this league. Likely to see him there. It could be Joseph Mora, who's a veteran presence, but I think Lennon defensively will be very, very important, but he's got to join the attack. I'm going to really go with a big one here, and if this hits, I feel like I should get double credit. I think Brooks Lennon will have more than 2 defensive actions in the game. So that's interceptions and tackles 1. I think he'll have more than 2 there and more than 2 chances created. So he's going to be involved in both. Yes.
All right.
I have faith in Brooks.
Listen, Brooks, on his career, has had some good nights against DC United. Had an absolute golazo against them at Audi Field last, I think, September, October, the months from 2020 seem to run together a little bit for me. But okay, so those are our predictions for Saturday's match against DC United. Here's the big thing, folks. This is a huge match. It could be a playoff preview. Wouldn't shock me at all if these teams end up as the 4 and 5 seeds or the 3 and 6 seeds and end up meeting each other in the first round. So it's going to be a big match, and I hope the atmosphere at Mercedes-Benz Stadium reflects how big the match is going to be. Saturday, Kickoff around 3:50 Eastern time. It'll be on Univision, and you can listen to Jason and I with the English radio commentary on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. It's a big one. It feels like it's been a minute since we've had a really big match with huge playoff implications at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and this one certainly checks all the boxes.
Yeah, with the crowd involved as well, this is key because this is a little bit of that playoff preview. And just like we've seen in history in games at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the postseason, the 17s become very, very important in these moments because the games get tighter. The games get more intense. You know, players get tired in these games. They're coming off of a short rest this week as well. Those moments where the 17s provide that lift, and it's something we've talked about historically for Atlanta United. We talked about it a lot last year and lacking it. That lift is going to be needed because DC will make Atlanta suffer in this game at times. I think Atlanta will make DC suffer at times, and I think the crowd and the atmosphere can have a huge factor in turning that towards the Atlanta side and making it really difficult for DC. I'm excited to see this front four continue to coalesce with Joseph, with Araujo, with Barco, with Moreno. And I can't wait to see what this lineup is because I think we're starting to get to know Gonzalo Pineda and how he goes into matches and how he prepares. Every time we learn a little bit more. What does it look like on Saturday? I can't wait to find out. I can't wait for this game.
Me too. So we'll see you Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we will see you next week as we preview the matchup in Philadelphia here on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff.